So, what happens when you ask an AI to translate a poem? You'd think it's just about swapping words, right? But what if that poem is more than just words? What if it's a revolutionary chant, just packed with rhythm, myth, and some serious cultural fire? Well, let's dive into this battle for the very soul of a poem. Our challenge starts right here, with this one powerful line from the incredible Indian poet Zaverchand Meghani. And you have to understand, this isn't just text on a page, it's a drumbeat. It's the kind of thing you chant at a rally to really stir the soul. So how on earth does a machine handle something so, well, so human?
And boom, right out of the gate, the difference is just staggering. On one side, you've got ChatGPT, which gives us "Stern time has awakened." Okay, it's clear, it's modern, I get it. But then you look at Gemini, "The dreadful hour wakes." Whoa, that sounds ancient, almost biblical. We have two AIs, one line of poetry, and two completely different worlds. This is exactly what we're going to unpack.
So here's our game plan. First, we need to really get the feel of the original chant. Then we'll look at ChatGPT's modern remix and compare it to Gemini's ancient echo. After that, we'll put them head to head, and finally, we'll talk about what this all means for the soul of translation itself.
Okay, so translating this piece is not just about the words. The real challenge, the real trick, is capturing its unique, pounding rhythm, that drumbeat I was talking about. You also have to get the deep cultural context, and its almost mythic power. I mean, it's an anthem, and an anthem is supposed to move you, right?
Let's kick things off with ChatGPT. It seems like its whole approach is to make this poem super accessible to a modern global audience. You could almost think of it less as a direct translation and more as a kind of global socialist manifesto.
First, let's talk about rhythm. ChatGPT takes that original, slogan-like call-and-response energy and just flattens it. What you get is smooth, it's readable, it's definitely political poetry, but you completely lose that feeling of being in a crowd chanting along. The drumbeat is just gone.
And its language choices, they follow the exact same pattern. It picks a very modern political vocabulary. You'll see words like justice, tyrants, freedom. It also kind of secularizes the myth. The original has this huge concept of cow. Think of it as time, but as a divine cosmic judge. ChatGPT simplifies that all the way down to the abstract idea of stern time. It's less mythic, more moralistic.
So the end result of all this is that by swapping out very specific Gujarati religious terms for these broad, global, political ones, ChatGPT makes the poem understandable to pretty much anyone, anywhere. It globalizes the whole thing. But in doing so, it kind of strips the poem of its specific cultural roots.
Okay, now let's flip the script and turn to Gemini, because its philosophy is the complete opposite. It's not trying to modernize the poem at all. It's trying to preserve its ancient, culturally specific power. This is what you might call the Bhakti revolutionary approach, and it's deeply, deeply rooted in Indian tradition.
Gemini really hangs on to that heavy, almost speech-like rhythm. It keeps the repetitive patterns. Honestly, the translation feels more like an old sermon or a fiery speech. It's maybe not as smooth to read as ChatGPT's version, but you can almost hear the cadence, the pulse of the original chant.
And this just illustrates that perfectly. Listen to this. The dreadful hour wakes, the final hour wakes. See that repetition, that parallel structure? That's the chant being preserved right there. It's deliberate, it's heavy, and man, is it powerful. It's designed to be spoken out loud.
When it comes to the language, Gemini goes all in on the myth. It basically sacralizes the poem. Words like final hour, reckoning, dreadful hour. That's not just for poetic flair. That's preserving the original idea of time as this divine, almost apocalyptic avenger. It just feels epic.
So by keeping that Sanskrit-influenced spiritual vocabulary, Gemini is intentionally indigenizing the context. This isn't a poem that could be from just anywhere. It is unmistakably from the Indian Bhakti revolutionary tradition. Gemini chooses authenticity over easy accessibility, plain and simple.
So what we have here are two very different translations, and they're born from two totally distinct philosophies. So let's do it. Let's put them side by side on a scorecard and see how they really stack up. Okay, let's break this down round by round. First up, preserving the original chant rhythm. That's a clear win for Gemini. What about keeping the mythic symbolism? Again, Gemini's preservation approach takes it. But what about accessibility? Here's where ChatGPT makes its move. Its modern clean verse is just way easier for a global reader to get. And finally, ideological power? Well, the source material suggests that Gemini's version actually intensifies the revolutionary fire, while ChatGPT's kind of softens. So after all that, what does this little experiment actually teach us? Well, it reveals something pretty fundamental about what happens when we ask a machine to interpret not just our words, but our art.
You know what this really shows is that this isn't some contest to see which AI is smarter. That's not the point at all. The differences we're seeing aren't mistakes or errors. They are the direct result of two totally distinct pre-programmed philosophies. One is basically coded to globalize, and the other is coded to indigenize.
So let's just boil it all down. ChatGPT chooses modern accessibility even if it means sacrificing some authenticity. Gemini does the exact opposite. It puts cultural faithfulness first, even if it's not as easy to read. This really shines a light on the core trade-off in all translation, doesn't it? Readability versus faithfulness. And maybe most importantly, it shows us that AI translation is never, ever a neutral act. It is always making ideological choices, whether we realize it or not.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating and frankly pretty urgent question. As art and AI get more and more tangled up, what should our goal even be? Should we use this incredible technology to globalize our cultures, creating art that's universally understood but maybe a little culturally flattened? Or should we use it to indigenize, to preserve the unique, specific soul of a culture, even if that makes it less accessible to the rest of the world? The answer to that is going to define the future of art itself.